In the heart of the Wild West, there lay a dusty old town named Silver Gulch. The sun beat down fiercely on the weathered wooden buildings, casting long shadows across the main street. Horses tied to hitching posts pawed at the ground, their breath visible in the dry air. The smell of leather and sweat mingled as cowboys bustled about, chatting and exchanging stories of their latest adventures. Silver Gulch was small but full of life. Children played marbles on the porch of the general store while women prepared lunch, their laughter blending with the sounds of clinking spurs and neighing horses. The townsfolk knew each other well. They shared joys and troubles alike. In this town, every cowboy had a trusty horse by their side, partners in work and play. The bond between rider and horse was strong. They understood each other better than anyone else could. On any given day, you could find them riding out into the Golden Hills, chasing sunsets or rounding up stray cattle. But today, there was something unusual in Silver Gulch. A prominent empty saddle resting quietly by a hitching post, waiting patiently as if it knew its rider would return. Little did anyone know, this saddle held a secret that would soon unfold. The empty saddle rested quietly on the weathered horse, a stark reminder of the absence that lingered in Silver Gulch. It was more than just a piece of leather. It symbolized a bond that went far beyond riding. Each crease and scuff on the saddle told stories of travels taken and adventures shared with its rider, Jake, a beloved cowboy in the town. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm glow across the dusty street, townsfolk occasionally glanced toward the hitching post, their hearts heavy with worry. The saddle's presence was a mix of sorrow and hope, a silent promise that Jake would return. The horse, an aged but sturdy creature named Dusty, stood patiently, his dark eyes filled with understanding. He had been through many seasons with Jake, feeling the highs and lows of life in Silver Gulch. Each passing hour seemed to deepen Dusty's resolve to wait for his friend. Children playing nearby would sometimes approach, gently patting Dusty's side as they whispered words of encouragement. "Don't worry, Dusty. Jake will be back," they said, believing that the magic of friendship could overcome any challenge. The empty saddle remained a beacon of faith in uncertain times, holding onto the promise of reunion. Jake was no ordinary cowboy. He was a part of the very fabric of Silver Gulch. With his wide-brimmed hat and warm smile, he greeted everyone he encountered, from the old-timers at the saloon to the children playing in the dusty streets. Known for his kind heart and willingness to help, Jake had a knack for making friends wherever he went. His connection with Dusty was legendary. They had weathered storms together and shared countless rides under the shimmering stars. Jake understood Dusty like no one else. They communicated with simple glances and gentle nudges. Each morning, they'd set off to tend to cattle or explore the hills, their laughter echoing in the vast landscape around them. But Jake was also a dreamer. He had aspirations of venturing beyond Silver Gulch, seeking new horizons and thrilling adventures. The townsfolk admired his spirit, often sharing tales of his daring exploits around the campfire. It was during one of these adventures that he mysteriously disappeared, leaving Dusty alone at the hitching post. Yet, as time passed, everyone in Silver Gulch held on to hope that Jake would return. Not just for Dusty, but for the good-hearted cowboy who brought joy to their lives and reminded them all of the power of community and friendship. The mystery of Jake's absence lingered like a cloud over Silver Gulch. He had set off one fateful morning, excited to explore the rugged mountains that lay beyond the familiar hills. Rumors had swirled about a hidden valley, said to be home to wild horses, a place where dreams could come true. With Dusty by his side, Jake was determined to uncover its secrets. As the sun rose high that day, Jake and Dusty galloped through the open plains, the thrill of adventure coursing through their veins. They climbed steep trails, feeling the rush of wind in their hair and the freedom of the wild. However, as they ventured deeper into uncharted territory, the landscape grew treacherous. Jagged rocks and narrow paths tested their skills and courage. It was during one of those challenging moments that disaster struck. A sudden storm rolled in, plunging the valley into darkness. The thunder echoed, and lightning illuminated the sky, causing Dusty to rear up in fear. In the chaos, Jake lost his footing, and they were separated amidst the raging elements. Hours turned into days, and while Dusty waited faithfully back in town, Jake faced the unknown alone, desperate to find his way back to Silver Gulch and his beloved horse. As the days stretched on, Dusty remained tied to the hitching post, his eyes fixed on the horizon with unwavering loyalty. While the sun rose and set, casting shadows over the town, Dusty stood patiently, embodying a sense of hope that seemed to echo through Silver Gulch. The townsfolk often stopped to stroke his worn mane or whisper encouraging words, but Dusty had his heart set on one thing: Jake's return. Every time the rustle of grass or the sound of hoofbeats reached his ears, Dusty's head perked up in anticipation. His ears twitched at every gust of wind, searching for the familiar call of his rider. He remembered long rides across golden fields and playful moments splashing through streams with Jake. Those memories played like a soothing melody in his mind, reminding him of their unbreakable bond. Though hunger gnawed at him and fatigue set into his old bones, Dusty refused to leave the spot where they had parted ways. He knew deep down that Jake would come back. It was a promise that lingered between them like an unspoken vow. In that moment of waiting, Dusty showcased not just loyalty but a love that transcended words, a testament to their special connection that no storm could break. As the days wore on, the empty saddle became a somber symbol in Silver Gulch, stirring various emotions among the townsfolk. Some felt a deep sadness as they passed by, their hearts heavy with concern for Jake. Old Man Thompson, who used to share stories of past adventures with Jake at the saloon, often paused to look at Dusty, whispering reminders of their bond. He shook his head in despair. That boy wouldn't leave us without a word. Yet not everyone fell into despair. Young Billy and his friends found solace in the legend of loyalty that had emerged around Dusty and Jake. They would gather near the hitching post, believing wholeheartedly that their cowboy friend would return soon, sharing tales of adventure that fueled their imaginations. "He's out there right now, fighting off wild beasts to come back to us," shouted Billy with bright eyes full of hope. Among them stood Emma, who had grown fond of both Jake and Dusty. She often brought apples for Dusty, brushing his mane and reassuring him, "You'll see Jake again. I just know it." This mix of joy and sorrow colored the atmosphere of Silver Gulch, a community strengthened by worry but unified in hope for Jake's safe return. As the days turned into a week, subtle signs began to emerge in Silver Gulch that suggested all was not well. The usually vibrant sounds of nature felt muted, as if the birds sensed the tension in the air. Farmers reported strange tracks leading away from their fields, footprints that didn't match any familiar animal and were larger than those of a typical cowboy's boot. Whispers of unease spread among the townsfolk, who speculated about what might be lurking beyond their peaceful town. One evening, as dust settled over the horizon, a frantic rabbit darted into town, its eyes wide with fright. It dashed past Dusty, causing him to whinny nervously. Even the horse could feel something was amiss. The local sheriff, noticing the rabbit's unusual behavior, organized a small group to investigate the surrounding areas but found nothing out of the ordinary. Yet an unsettling feeling hung in the air. At night, shadows cast by flickering lanterns danced ominously on old wooden walls. The community gathered at the saloon shared stories of Jake's bravery but couldn't shake off their mounting worry. Each passing day brought more questions than answers, and deep down, they sensed that danger might be closer than they realized. The growing unease in Silver Gulch sparked a sense of urgency among the townsfolk. One evening, as shadows lengthened and the sun set behind the hills, Emma gathered her friends, Billy and a few others, at the hitching post. "We can't just sit here and wait," she declared, her voice filled with determination. "We need to search for Jake." Inspired by Emma's spirit, a small group quickly formed. They rallied around Dusty, who seemed to understand the gravity of the situation. Old Man Thompson joined them, his weathered face showing both worry and resolve. "If there's a chance he's out there, we need to find him," he said, nodding in agreement. With lanterns in hand and excitement mixed with fear, they set out under the starlit sky. The townsfolk rode into the darkened mountains, their hearts pounding with hope and friendship guiding them forward. As they traversed familiar trails and explored uncharted paths, they shared stories of Jake, his laughter and bravery providing strength during their search. Each hoofbeat echoed their commitment to finding their friend, reminding them that together they could face anything. United by love and concern for Jake's safety, they pressed on into the unknown, determined to bring him home. As the search party ventured deeper into the mountains, the terrain became more challenging. The path narrowed and twisted, surrounded by towering cliffs that loomed like silent giants. Emma led the group, her heart racing not just from the thrill of the adventure but also from concern for Jake. With lanterns flickering, they pressed on, determination fueling their every move. Suddenly, Billy spotted something glimmering on the ground, a piece of leather that looked like it belonged to Jake's saddle. "This way!" he shouted, excitement bubbling in his voice. The group rallied together, encouraging one another as they followed the trail that seemed to guide them closer to their missing friend. However, the journey was not without its challenges. A steep incline made their horses slip, forcing them to dismount and help each other up. Old Man Thompson used his strength to steady a younger rider who nearly lost his balance. "We're stronger together," he reminded them, bolstering their spirits. As they continued onward, the sounds of nature returned, a symphony of rustling leaves and distant calls of wildlife. It was a sign of hope, but the group remained cautious. Their bravery was evident as they faced uncertainty head-on, united by friendship and a shared goal, to find Jake and bring him home safely. As the search party pressed on, a faint but familiar sound caught their attention, an echoing call that sounded like a whistle. Emma paused, her heart racing. "Did you hear that?" she asked, turning to the others. They nodded in agreement, and the group carefully followed the sound through the dense trees. Suddenly, as they rounded a bend, there he was, Jake, disheveled and weary, but alive. He sat against a large rock, his eyes lighting up at the sight of his friends. "I thought you'd never find me," he exclaimed, relief washing over him. Jake explained how he had been separated from Dusty during the storm and had taken refuge in a small cave until the worst of it passed. Afterward, he tried to navigate his way back but ended up lost and exhausted. He had survived on berries and rainwater, his thoughts constantly drifting back to Silver Gulch and Dusty waiting for him. The townsfolk rushed forward, joyfully surrounding him with cheers and hugs. Emma stepped forward first, tears of happiness spilling down her cheeks as she embraced him tightly. "We were so worried. Let's get you home." With renewed energy and laughter filling the air, they turned back towards Silver Gulch, all knowing that their bond had grown even stronger through this adventure. As the group approached Silver Gulch, the sight of the familiar dusty streets filled Jake with warmth and gratitude. The sun cast a golden glow over the town as friends began to gather, their faces lighting up in disbelief and joy when they spotted him riding alongside Emma and the others. Cheers erupted, echoing through the valley as townsfolk rushed forward, their arms wide open. Dusty, waiting patiently near the hitching post, sensed something was different. He raised his head, ears perked, and let out a whinny that cut through the excitement like a sharp knife. The moment Jake dismounted and stepped closer, Dusty bolted toward him, a powerful mix of relief and love coursing through them both. They met in an emotional embrace. Jake buried his face in Dusty's mane while tears streamed down his cheeks. "I missed you, old friend," he whispered. The townsfolk surrounded them, clapping each other on the back and sharing stories about their search for Jake. Emma stepped forward with tears of joy in her eyes. "We were so worried, but we never stopped believing," she said, wrapping her arms around both Jake and Dusty. In that heartfelt reunion, laughter mixed with joyful tears, the bonds of friendship strengthened by the trials they had faced together. As the sun began to set over Silver Gulch, painting the sky with soft hues of orange and pink, the town erupted in celebration. Jake's safe return sparked joy that radiated through the hearts of every townsfolk present. Laughter mingled with tears of relief as friends embraced one another, sharing stories of bravery and loyalty in their search for him. Dusty stood proudly beside Jake, his head held high, embodying the strong bond of friendship that had brought them all together. The townspeople recognized that throughout the ordeal, It wasn't just Jake's courage that had illuminated their path. It was also their unwavering support for one another that had carried them through uncertainty. In this moment of unity, everyone reflected on the themes of loyalty and community. Each individual played a part in this tapestry of friendship, whether it was Emma's inspiring leadership or Old Man Thompson's strength in caring for the younger riders. They had faced fears and challenges together, proving that true friendship amplifies hope and resilience. As night fell over Silver Gulch, the warm glow of lanterns illuminated the faces of those who celebrated not just Jake's return, but also the power of love and connection that bound them inseparably. Together, they knew they could overcome anything that life threw their way.